Hello everybody, my name is Starrapter. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Star Wars Canon. If you're new to the show, basically every week I go over everything new in the Star Wars universe, so this could be anything that ties back into the movies, such as the TV series, the novels, the comic books, and to the video games. So this week we had another new episode of Star Wars Rebels from Season 3, Episode 5, titled The Last Battle. So we jump into this episode, and it's all about Ezra, Kanan, and Rex going to this planet. They find this separatist ship that has been crashed there, so they figure they can get some munitions, some kind of armaments of some sort. They go there and they get surrounded by battle droids. Yes, battle droids. This is 15 years after these things were supposedly deactivated, and somehow this little small detachment of droids is still operational. Who knows what's going on? So basically, Ezra, Kanan, and Rex are held at gunpoint and are forced to do this little game by this super commander droid. And when they get through that game, they actually find out that the Empire has actually arrived there too, so they actually end up teaming up, the separatist droids, with Kanan, Ezra, and Rex against the Empire, and they actually do that and they get away. Unfortunately, they don't get away with anything, but they do get away with the replacement of the Phantom. So, I mean, at least they have their little dropship now. So that was basically the episode in a nutshell. I'm going to get into my positives of this episode. First off, I liked how we've seen a lot of turmoil going inside of Rex's head. I mean, he's been dealing with the Separatists, you know, his whole life basically, and now he's coming back to that. And it's like it's basically like he's thinking back to the times. Like, this is almost like the Clone Wars 2.0 for him. Like, this little battle he's going through, he starts lashing out at Ezra. You know, he's really just having a hard time dealing with this. I did like how they also explored what happened after Order 66 with the droids. We get an explanation of, you know, the Empire, you know, shut down the droids immediately. I mean, we kind of assume this anyway, as well as decommission the clones. I also really liked seeing the droid dekas, the destroyer droids. They're probably my favorite droids for the Separatist army, so I really liked seeing them in this whole Dark Times age of Star Wars. And as I mentioned before, I really enjoyed seeing the Empire versus the droids and rebels. That's like one of those things you have with your little toys, your little action figures. When I was growing up, you know, it's like, oh, what would happen if a stormtrooper came across a battle droid? You know, what would that look like? Well, we actually live out that fantasy in this episode, so that was really cool. I also liked seeing how Ezra figuratively and kind of realistically ended the Clone Wars, because the way that the droids were looking at the Clone Wars, as well as Rex, said, oh, they never ended. There was never a resolution of, you know, you guys get this and we get this kind of thing. It just ended because the Empire wanted it to end on both sides. So they actually have this little truce with the battle droids and with Rex, so that was kind of cool. As mentioned before, the new Phantom was something really, really cool. You know, we lost the old Phantom and they haven't really addressed it, so they get this like Nemoidian type separatist ship now that supposedly fits right into the Ghost, so that's going to be interesting. It's like a perfect replacement, and it's got the fin now on the top, so now the Ghost looks even cooler with that little fin going on the top. And finally, I really enjoyed that this was the Clone Wars episode that I think everybody wanted to have. Even the fanfare at the end saying, like, you know, Star Wars Rebels and like the Clone Wars font with the music going was really cool. As much as I like this episode, I mean, yeah, it was a bit of a mixed bag for me. Like I said, there was a lot of cool stuff, but there's also a lot of things I had problems with. So one of the things I had problems with was like the whole game that the Rebels were put through. I feel like that was a bit of a gimmicky kind of thing. Like, the Super Commander could have just killed them all right there. Of course, then we wouldn't have Rebels, but it's like, oh, we want to play this game out. It's like, I thought that was a little lame. And another thing was when they were versing the Empire, alright? So you had the droids that were gonna fire at Kanan and Ezra so they could deflect the blaster bolts into these explosive crates that would, like, take out the walker's legs. Why didn't they just pick up the blasters, Kanan and Ezra, and just use the blasters themselves rather than risking themselves getting shot, deflecting them into the barrel? So I thought that was a little odd. Also, I don't know why the droids were so important, because at the end there's 3 transports that they have to escape the planet with. Now, other than a diversion, that's the only other reasoning why I would see that it was imperative to make the droids get on the ships to get out of there. And then you do see the Super Commander actually survive, and they're like, "Oh, we'll see you later." Like, are they gonna come back and fight for the rebellion? That'd be kind of hilarious. And speaking of the Super Commander, I was online and I did actually see. I'm not sure how credible this is. You guys can comment down below. But that Super Commander droid was actually the same droid from the Clone Wars TV show for the arc with the Onderon Saul Guerrera. So that was really cool. If that's actually true, I have to dig a little deeper, but I did see somebody post something about that in a Facebook group. But that's going to do it for that episode of Rebels. But that wasn't all we had this week. We also had 2 new comics. First one I want to talk about with you guys is Poe Dameron number 7. So, cool thing is, this is actually a bigger issue. You know, this is the $4.99 one, so it's a little bit larger. And this subtitle was called The Gathering Storm. So I don't know if this is just like a one-off. I have a feeling this is like a one-off between both arcs of the story, because we just got done the first arc. So, things about this story were Poe Dameron, he's going to this planet to meet up with a contact, an old buddy of his. Her name is Sorlinda Javos, and she has information she supposedly knows about the First Order. She wants to get to him. So we know these guys are friends. So Poe used to be in the Republic Navy along with this character. So basically what happens is she's about to give them information, and their meeting gets interrupted by these thugs. So then they go on this really cool adventure where they're jumping on these sail barge things. They're called storm sailors, and they're racing through to escape. And then they get to this safe haven where they think they're safe. And who shows up at the First Order, right? So the First Order are now after them, but they somehow get out of there, and they get back to the Resistance base. And what happens is, this Sorlinda Javos person was playing Poe the whole time. She said she was a journalist, but she wanted to give up the location of the Dakar Resistance base. She didn't actually have any information regarding anything about the First Order, but they do this really cool thing where she's like kind of thinking back in the past to certain things people have said through this certain adventure. And last thing she says is she quits her job with the journalist. She's not going to give up the location of those people, but she's actually going to join the Resistance because Poe made such an impression, and just seeing the people that are supporting the Resistance, she wants to be part of that. So I thought that was really cool. This is a really nice story that kind of bridges the gap. So getting into my positives for this particular story, first off, I really like the inclusion of this new character, Sorlinda Javos. She is actually a new species we've never seen before. They're called a squamatin. Now, something really cool about this is she's being interrogated by this First Order officer, right? And next thing you know, he is going to slice out her eyes or something, you know, crazy. And she actually has this species kind of ability where she's like a snake, and she spits acid all over this guy's face, and he just goes down for the count. So I think she's a really cool character introduced to Star Wars. She seems very scrappy, like she's good in a blaster fight. Like, this is somebody you want to have with you on your side. So the Resistance are definitely getting a cool new member of their secret society. Another thing I briefly touched upon was the Storm Sailor chase there in the beginning of this issue. I really dug it, because these ships don't actually have engines or like moving parts, but this world they were on was like a stormy world, so they were able to go down to the coast. But the one thing that I didn't really enjoy was, like, they said, oh, we're gonna go down to like the core of the planet to try to get faster, but it's more dangerous. They said they were going there, and then the next page they were already like safe. They're like, oh yeah, that was a really hard journey. It's like, I wish we could actually seen what they were going through. But, I mean, I understand that they can only tell so many stories in this small issue, even though it was a little bigger. And another thing I really liked was the First Order secrecy that these guys continue to convey, because we know they don't make themselves known to the public until The Force Awakens, right? So they can't be really exposed out there. So they're doing things like the James Bond kind of like secrecy. So we do see them all cloaked like the First Order troopers are just walking around, and they go capture them. That to me was pretty cool. I like how they're dealing with that. And also, we got a new artist on this Poe Dameron series, and I really like what he did. We had Phil Noto, who also did Chewbacca. I appreciated how he started off the tone for this this issue or this run of Poe Dameron, but now we have this new run, and yeah, this guy, I really like what he's doing so far. So finally, we have one more issue to talk about, and that is going to be Star Wars number 24. Now guys, this is one of the coolest covers that I've seen in a long time. I mean, come on, we have a stormtrooper with a lightsaber, and Luke Skywalker looks like he's about to be executed. This is probably from the Ralph McQuarrie's art. If you guys are familiar with it, there's a stormtrooper with a lightsaber, and it's actually Luke in front of Darth Vader. It's one of my favorite concept art pieces, so they're definitely taking stuff from that. Okay, so getting into this issue, this is part 4 of the last flight of the Harbinger. As you guys know, if you've read these, they have the rebels have commandeered a Star Destroyer. There's only like 100 people. It usually takes like 1,000 to crew this thing. So they're trying to use the Star Destroyer as cover to get to this planet to rescue some rebels. So they've captured this thing, and now they're starting to notice that certain teams aren't checking in. Certain maintenance teams that are trying to get systems online, like the cannons and the engines. Now there's certain things going dark, and it's becoming kind of ominous because in the previous chapter, Luke and Sana were flying a TIE fighter, and they found the Admiral that was supposed to come and help them, like basically strapped to a ship in outer space. And from that minute on, they kind of went on high alert, and we're like, all right, there's something going crazy. Somebody's sending us a message. So I liked how this, you know, this issue kind of had a great pacing because it starts off kind of slow, but then we get the reveal of Star Squad is there. Yes, Sergeant Creel, the guy from the Nar Shaddaa arc, who was secretly like had the lightsaber and everything. This guy's in there, and we see this awesome struggle. All these different characters, and you got Chewie versus the big Juggernaut guy. Then you got you know, the sniper trying to go to the bridge, and of course you got Luke versus Sergeant Creel. And basically, they're about an hour away from this planet, and they eventually get to this planet on the Star Destroyer. They kind of just fly right through the Star Destroyer to try to get these rebels, and basically the last part of it is they are right there and Vader shows up. So really cool ending. But I'm going to get into my specific positives of this issue. So first off, as I briefly mentioned, was the horror sort of vibe. So you got guys that are just not checking in, and you got this whole ominous tone, you know, dark kind of stuff going on, like, oh, we're getting picked off one by one. It kind of reminded me of like Alien or something, so that was really sweet. Scar Squad also is just complete badass. Like, they're just getting vented into space. Like, 2 of the troopers got vented into space through the airlock, and they're still kicking ass. Like, apparently they got the environmental suits built in, so they are awesome. Yeah, these guys, not one of them died in this issue, which I was surprised. I would have thought that one of these guys would die. I don't know what's going to go on with Scar Squad. I believe this has one more issue for this arc, so who knows? I mean, there's got to be some kind of loss, but it's great to see stormtroopers actually doing something, guys. They can actually fire weapons and kill guys. They're not just hitting the walls. It's pretty cool. I can't talk about Scar Squad without talking about Sergeant Creel and how much this guy is awesome. I mean, this guy uses a green lightsaber against Luke, and he's putting up a fight. And then again, Luke, at this point in time, he's not like even a Padawan at this point, that you could argue. He is just not great with the lightsaber. And it's kind of funny because Sana Starros actually makes a point of this when she says, I have a bad feeling about this, and she's talking to Luke like, oh, you're a terrible Jedi if you can't even feel how bad the feeling is right now. And he's just like, what? So that was kind of funny. And just the cliffhanger of Vader, that was really cool because, you know, we just got Vader down 2 weeks ago, the conclusion of the Vader series. So seeing Vader again in comics this soon is kind of great because I'm like, oh, that's right, they could still include Vader in all these Star Wars comics, even though he doesn't have his own mainline comic series. So that's going to do it for this week in Star Wars Canon. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below. What are you guys looking forward to? I'm Starrapter. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always. So, did you like the video? Then make sure you go ahead and hit that thumbs up symbol. And if you like this video, please hit that subscribe button down below. Doing so will help you stay up to speed on all of my latest content. Speaking of which, there's a recent video right over there. I'm also on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Starrapter. So what are you waiting for? Let's get talking pop culture.